Hi everyone, my name is Kayla. I decided to do my research question on the effectiveness of sensory integrative therapy in children with undesirable behaviors such as autism. The form that we decided to use was in the use of a weighted vest. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. Okay, so let's jump right in. My research question was, how effective is the use of SIT in the form of a weighted vest in children with developmental disabilities and undesirable behaviors? First off, the reason I chose this subject is because I have a younger brother who does have autism. My parents have been told in the past that the use of a weighted vest would help to stabilize his behavior and make life better, or easier, so to say. So what reason did we have to oppose the opinion of his occupational therapist? So we all just assumed it would help. But when I came into this class and we had to decide on a topic, this was the perfect time to look into it. And I decided I wanted to learn how this type of therapy helped others and if at all. So a little bit of background, what is SIT? SIT is an acronym for Sensory Integrative Therapy. Sensory integrated therapy is said to help those with neural processing deficiencies and is implemented on children with undesirable and/or aggressive behaviors. So when I say that it is to help those with neural processing deficiencies, that just means that people with these deficiencies are unable to receive, modulate, and integrate sensory input. So SIT is supposed to help with this and hypothesize that the nervous system will begin to process properly, therefore resulting in better behavior. Now, one serious decision making that I had to choose was if I wanted to include other types of SIT. So there are other types of sensory integrative therapy, not just in the form of a weighted vest. However, if I chose to incorporate other therapies, I would not have been able to find the answers that I wanted, which were to focus on the use of a weighted vest because it is highly recommended by occupational therapists. So because of all this, my answer concludes that current literature out there does not provide enough concrete evidence to prove consistent results, and therefore the study would qualify that weighted vest cannot be recommended as an effective form of SIT. So my results directly corroborates with Carter and Stevenson's from 2008, where they state that the idea of consistent positive results of wearing weighted vests have not been able to be replicated, which is a finding consistent with research on SIT in general. So from my 10 articles, I made a few assumptions. My first one was the use of weighted vests would improve a child's aggressive and undesirable behaviors. So throughout my paper, you will see many different examples. However, here is one. After the use of a weighted vest was observed, these children were then placed with no vest to compare. Most studies showed little to no difference in a child's behavior. A few studies used control variables, being a vest with no added weight, and some children responded positively and asked to wear the vest all day instead of during the activities. So this not only showed that there was little to no difference in a child's behavior, it did show that the children responded positively to wearing the vest. So that may be because they felt comfortable wearing it or that they liked wearing it, but that doesn't necessarily say that their behaviors changed because they were wearing the vest. My second assumption is that the ABA design therapies would help determine whether or not the use of a weighted vest proved beneficial to a child. So here, in one of the studies, they did implement a multi-element design that came from an ABA design. The experiment was conducted within two phases, phase A, where there was no vest, and phase B, where there was a weighted vest. Now, from reading my articles, the ABA design did prove to be a weak design because they didn't take into consideration, like they didn't use a control variable, so they didn't really have anything to compare the vest to. So right now it's not really known how effective the vest is in general in itself. So how are we supposed to answer the question on how effective is the use of a vest for these children with disabilities if we don't know how effective the vest is in itself? So my assumption 3 comes from setting goals for a child during specific tasks would help with behavior improvements while wearing a vest. So children in these studies were placed in weighted vests that were about 5 to 10% of their body weight. So what they would do is they would take these children, they would put them in the vest during specific activities and see how their behavior changed. And that's where they would have these goals, is they would have a goal for the child to be able to sit in their desk and not get up, or that they would actually do the activity and not go away from what they were supposed to do. Coming from this, I would have changed in my research, focusing more specifically not on just a specific task, but on their daily routine, because it's very unrealistic to say a weighted vest works at school during the 20-minute or activity time. That's not where, that is not enough to tell a parent that yes, this form of sit will work for your child. And then some implications. Sit in the form of weighted vest does show slight improvements in behaviors during specific tasks. However, because these results cannot be replicated, it should not be recommended as an effective form of therapy, like I had just stated. Another implication is a child's daily routine was not taken into account during these trials, again, as I just stated. So I also wish I would have focused more on a parent/caregiver's view. A lot of the research that I focused on was more so the researchers and the observers, and that wasn't my initial goal. So when we go over here to erasing my opinion, it was difficult to erase my opinion because I have my own personal experience and thoughts when I came to writing this paper. However, my opinion has changed. So when I came into this paper, I was under the assumption that yes, weighted vests work. My brother's occupational therapist recommended it. Why would it not? And I thought I was going to see all of these positive results and that there was a sure thing, or it was a short answer of yes, people should use this. This should be always recommended. But after this research, my opinion completely changed. I don't think that it's a effective form of sensory integrative therapy. I don't believe that it should be recommended to parents or caregivers because the research doesn't support it. And it was hard to erase my opinion because I had such a strong opinion because I was told something different, and I have my own family members who have dealt with it. But you know, what I had to do was just reach down into my articles and find things that I agreed with, and I just used those in my paper and just erased my opinion from it, and I removed myself from the paper. So my recommendations are that experimental designs need to measure all aspects of a child's daily routine. So this would include waking up, eating breakfast, brushing their teeth, getting ready for school, coming home, eating dinner, playtime with their parents. They need to take into account the child's needs and what the child is doing daily. Observations should be done in an at-home setting as well, because children, but so to say, who have autism, they are highly intelligent. They can manipulate, and if they know that they are being observed, they can act a different way, which throws out your data. Um, Also, researchers and observers should always be blind to their subject to eliminate any bias. A lot of the research that I had gone through, the researchers and observers all knew who was and who was not wearing the vest. So this can create a bias. It can create unrealistic ideas that something had changed when it really didn't. And again, a lot of the data had to be thrown out because the observers did prove to themselves that they were being biased during their own study. And again, I believe that my research is applicable to both parents and caregivers and occupational therapists. For the parents and caregivers, like I said, I'm coming from their point of view. This research has helped me a lot. It's changed my opinion, and I just think it's beneficial and educational for a parent slash caregiver to look over this and see, do I believe this is going to be effective for my child? Should I spend the money on this? Because heck, it's not cheap. And make their own decisions. I'm not saying that my decision or my answer is right, um, but this will help those who are on the fence about it. And then for occupational therapists, my research can also help them see what needs to be done, what needs to be changed. That way they can try to design better experiments and maybe implement in-home therapies and things like that to help regain some new knowledge and structure for this type of research, because like I said, there's not that much, and there were a few limits or limitations within this research study because there is not a lot of literature out there. Um, a lot of these were literature reviews. They were all referring back to one another, and that made it extremely difficult for me to write this paper. But I will stop rambling, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for your time, and have a good night.